In today's story, we'll learn how to be brave when you're scared. Once upon a time, in a lush green forest filled with all kinds of chirping birds, there lived a little bird. Now, this little bird was known for being the most timid bird in the entire forest. It would jump at the slightest noise. If a twig snapped underfoot, he thought it was a giant stomping toward him. And if a leaf fell from a tree, he believed it was raining and would frantically fly to take cover under a bush. The other birds in the forest often teased him for being such a scaredy cat, but the little bird couldn't help it. Being brave wasn't easy for him. One day, a fierce storm suddenly hit the forest. Strong winds began to thrash the trees and huge raindrops poured down from the sky. The little bird immediately panicked. He flew to hide under a bush, but the wind was too strong and the bush had no leaves to shield him. So he flew to another tree and huddled on a twig, trying his best to make himself as small as possible. Suddenly, he heard a desperate cry. "Help me! Please help me!" The little bird looked down and saw a tiny sapling by the river struggling against the current. The water was rising, and the poor tree was in danger of being washed away. The bigger birds flew around, boasting about how brave they were. "Oh, look at me. I'm flying in the storm. How brave of me." The little bird watched them go by, and he wanted to be like them, so brave and fearless. But he knew he couldn't just pretend to be brave. He was still a scaredy cat, and the storm was too frightening for him. He wanted to help the sapling, but he was too scared to try. He wished he could be brave. As the storm raged on, the little bird couldn't bear to watch the sapling being tossed around by the current anymore. His heart pounded in his chest. His breaths were fast and shallow, and his head spun with fear. All he wanted to do was hide and protect himself. But then he remembered something. This was no ordinary sapling. It was a fruit tree seedling, the kind that one day would provide sweet, juicy fruits for all the forest animals. If the seedling were to die, all those animals would be out of luck. The little bird knew he had to try and be brave, even though his legs trembled with fear and his wings felt heavy and useless. He took a deep breath and tried to calm himself down. "I can do this," he told himself. He flapped his wings and rose into the wind and rain. He flew as hard as he could toward the struggling sapling, but the wind kept pushing him back. It was as if the storm itself didn't want him to go any further. The little bird struggled to stay upright in the wind. He strained to reach the sapling. Then suddenly he saw something. It was a long, loose vine dangling nearby. It was just out of reach. With a sudden burst of strength, he grabbed the vine in his beak and pulled himself closer to the tree. Now that he was close enough, he could see how badly the sapling was faring. One of its roots had been completely torn away, and the rest were hanging on by just a few threads. If the storm continued like this, the tree would definitely be washed away. But the little bird wasn't giving up. He tried to tie the vine to the remaining roots, but the wind kept tugging at it. It was too strong for him. He could barely hold on to the vine with his beak. The little bird struggled, and he struggled some more. Finally, with one last burst of energy, he managed to tie the vine securely to a strong old tree root that was anchored deep in the ground. As soon as he finished, the wind seemed to ease a little, and the rain became lighter. Looking back, the little bird saw that the vine had made a tight connection between the sapling and the old tree. The stream was still strong, but now the sapling wouldn't be washed away. It was safe. The little bird collapsed onto the branch, exhausted. He was drenched, shivering, and shaking all over. Da-da-da-da-da. He had been brave and helped someone in need. As the storm gradually calmed down and the sun peeked through the clouds, the little bird flew back to his nest. He was tired and hungry, but he couldn't stop thinking about what he had done. He had faced his fears and helped save the sapling. He realized that being brave wasn't about being fearless. It was about doing what needed to be done even when you were scared. From that day on, the little bird was no longer known as the scaredy cat of the forest. Instead, he was called the little hero. The other birds finally understood that sometimes the smallest and most fragile creatures can be the bravest of all. They admired him for his courage and thanked him for saving the fruit tree. And as for the little bird, he was happy to be seen as a hero. But most of all, he was proud of himself for being brave when he was scared. He knew that no matter how small or afraid he was, he could still make a big difference in the world. And that, my friends, is the story of the little bird who was scared, but still chose to be brave. Remember, sometimes the smallest acts of bravery are the most powerful of all. And now it's time for bed. Before you go, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up if you liked it. If you haven't already, please subscribe so you never miss out on our new stories. Take care and sleep well. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.